Yay! We did it! We did it! We did it! Yay! That was we did it! Do. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the first ever roundtable discussion of the Freefalling Monthly.
That was fun.
That was fun.
Wow! Congrats, everyone! That was really great. Really, really great. Okay, enough of that. Let's introduce ourselves and our pieces. So I guess I'll start. So hi, my name is Anton May, pronouns he him, and my piece was "See When You Look at Me."
Oh, we're doing individual ones. Okay.
Yes, just your name and your piece and your pronouns.
I'm gonna fix my name because like we made this joke when we were doing this in dress rehearsal, like we'll do different names. And I was like, I'm gonna put my own name, and now that I have to introduce myself, Jeroen is sticking to it a little bit. He just put his first name. Anyways, I'm Josh. I did the second last one. It's called Red Pool, and it's a privilege to be here amongst these fine fellows.
It is also a privilege for me to be amongst these fine people. My name is Monica Hamburg, she, her, and my piece was Ella Email.
And my name is Jeroen, and I presented Fina.
Party. So yes, that's one step done. Bloody hell. I didn't think this through because I'm like also participating, but also participating is really weird.
I don't think thinking things through is part of the deal with free falling. I mean, it takes a lot of thinking, but also a lot of just let it rip. So
yeah. So I guess yeah, the list of what we're supposed to be doing is to talk about our process for our piece, or however you want to interpret that question, your process as an artist when you're creating your pieces, or specifically for this piece, if you would like to share your process. The floor is y'all's. I'm gonna go last. So.
He's done a lot of talking.
Yeah, so everyone's a diver.
Give yourself a break.
Yeah, exactly. Lovely job hosting, Anton, by the way.
Yeah, and your piece. Your piece was amazing.
Oh, thank you. Oh
my God, the editing is really great.
Oh gosh.
What's your process, Anton?
So a lot of my work, or at least because now with COVID and whatnot, I'm trying to get into the self kind of making your own pieces, doing your own art, and not waiting for somebody to like give you an audition and get a job. And I've noticed that in my writing and the topics that I kind of want to cover are mostly centered around Black identity, and also my identity in queer spaces as a Black queer man and the struggles that come with it, and also kind of like flipping that, and instead of talking about all the negatives, focus on the positives and kind of self-love and whatnot. For this specific piece, this, I guess I would say this poem has been in the making since last year. Amidst all the Black Lives Matter things, like I wanted to like create something to kind of talk about it, kind of like my way of processing all of that stuff. But I never got a chance to sit down and do anything about it. But yeah, I finally put this together. It was actually supposed to be longer, but I cut the ending because I didn't know how to incorporate it into this specific piece. But hey, maybe another free falling, I might present the ending. But yeah, so that was kind of the thought process behind the poem itself. For the editing and the visual, I have no idea. I guess if I'm gonna talk about it in a way, the images that you saw were kind of like places where the poem kind of came to be. So I do a lot of my creating in the shower, when I'm sitting on my bed, lotioning up. Things come to me. When I'm in the metro, things come to me. Usually I hope my family isn't tuning in, but usually I am a little, and the things just come to me. Yeah. And especially with the curfew and whatnot, with all the police presence in the metros at night, because I work evenings, that's another thing that kind of like triggers things. So those images that you saw are basically the thought process and how the poem came to be. And also I wanted to be vulnerable, and there's nothing more vulnerable than being naked. So that's why I was naked, because I wanted this piece to kind of talk about like what people might see and how you shouldn't be scared of me because I'm human and vulnerable just like you. So that's my process. A lot of talking, but hey, moving on to the next.
It was beautiful. I mean, I think it's really cool that naturally the images where you came up with these, with the poetry, like where you're getting your inspiration, that there was some sort of connection between those spaces, because the video was like the poem was very beautiful and powerful, but certainly, you know, in this digital realm, what you added with the editing definitely supported it. And like something about those cops, like I think it was like the next thing you saw, so it was like very like, oh god.
Yeah, I had to be in that video because I was literally getting ready to jump on the metro, and I'm like, shit, this is gonna be great. But yeah, thank you. Somebody, please, else. I'm getting all nervous now. Oh, what the heck?
Oh, there's a question. Like I wrote it as I was.
Monica, this is your turn, Monica.
Okay, Monica. I didn't write this. Monica, you created so many pieces for Freefalling Monthly. Do you create these pieces specifically for Freefalling, or do you have like a back pocket full of shows and you pick one each month? No, I legit do use the Freefalling as a reason to create, as a motivation. I don't actually, sometimes I'll have an idea before I say, can I, be on the show? But sometimes I don't. Sometimes it's, so. It's helping me a lot because I want to create, but if I don't have deadlines, then I can just not do it. So that's the answer.
Party.
Yeah, and so talk about your process. I mean, like I love the world of emails as much as everyone. In fact, that I hate them because it's so like
useless meetings.
Yeah, and I love that.
I mean, okay, so obviously I'm like super frustrated sometimes with my email communication, and like, but I'm like, in one way I'm like, why don't people read an email before they respond? And that's like a fury, but then also I'm like so out of control upset about it. Like my frustration is so completely horror film revenge woman, when like just if someone responds like wrongly to an email, and then I'm like, my god, why do I get so pissed off? So like it's very disproportionate. So I also understand that I'm crazy, but my process for this one was that I'm like very frustrated with email and some of the communication, and then I was trying to figure out how to make it so that it wasn't like, I mean, it's linear, but so that it wasn't like just me being pissed off by email, like, because that's not an interesting story. And I have limited skills in terms of the visual stuff because I'm not an animator, and I can't draw, and I can't do a lot of those kind of things. And I didn't really want to be in front of the camera all the time. So so the process was trying to figure out how to tell this. And there was this whole long period of me watching a lot of Skillshare videos about stop motion animation, as though that was something I was going to do, because in my delusional world, it was something I would have the patience to do. So there was like hours of me learning about stop motion and then going, no, I can't do this. I can't do this because I will kill everyone. So then I decided, okay, I'll try something, with the limited skills I have and the tools I have, and try to make it a little different than the frustration about phones that I did. And then, and that was sort of.
Well, how did you do? Was that like screen record or?
No, so it's Canva, like the thing you use to make graphics, like just yeah, and then it's like not frame by frame, but each thing is a frame, right? Each thing is a whatever JPEG or whatever, a PNG.
Oh.
So yeah,
So it's still animation.
Fancy PowerPoint.
but yeah, that's really what it is. It is fancy PowerPoint, and so yeah, so that's about what I can do is like take other things and then yeah. So I have to work with that, and then obviously I had Jay McCullough. You did get his name on the third try, and that is exactly how long it took me to get his name, and I'm dating him, so don't worry. That is like it's completely reasonable. The Jay McCullough and Peter Dradomski. I was like, when I finally figured out what I was going to do, I was like, oh great, I have people that I like that will do this with me. So I thought they did a great job with the voice stuff, like actually way better than I even expected, because it really came to life with the frustration and the like just that kind of like, all right, well let's do this, and no, just send me that, and you're like, oh my fucking god, what? So yeah, so I was really happy with what they did with that. So that's the preface.
Very cool.
I think some more. Oh, there we go. Thank you for doing my job for me. Why did you choose to create these pieces pre-recorded instead of live streamed? How could they have been different if you presented them live? And this targeted to specific people, so y'all can go ahead and dive into that.
Could I have done it live? I could have done it live. It just would have been a lot different. And for me, there are two elements in there. So one thing was the making the clay masks. I've been wanting for a while to do an experiment with clay and with masks and just trying out stuff. But the mask itself also represents something to me in my personal life and in my mental well-being, where I see a lot of myself where I hide behind masks. And I have this ritual where in the morning I record myself while walking from the metro to work. And there was one recording where I spoke about masks and the clown, and where you see the clown, and where I wanted to speak about hearts. And that is the actual recording I used for this presentation. And bringing those two together wouldn't have worked in a live setting. Yeah, so for this one, I really chose to do pre-recorded, so I could kind of just jumble it around and just have a sense of it and just play with it.
Because like sometimes when it's like pre-recorded, it gives you that freedom to like, change the order, and also like there's just less stress of like, oh crap, I want to do this at this point. It's like you can just have the freedom to like do the voice. Great. Let me film some stuff. Great. Now I can really like, sew it in where how I envisioned it, which you can't really do with a live performance. But you can always find ways to make it work, I feel. But
yeah, and also within the construct of Freefalling Monthly, we only have 5 minutes.
Right.
And it's not a lot of time. And actually, the recording that I used was the first and only recording I did making a clay mask on my face.
One take?
And the original was 15 or 20 minutes long, so I had to whittle it down. And I don't want to restrain myself or constrain myself and have to work with 5 minutes. Well, I just want to play around and figure out. And you can actually see my mimicry, that there is a bit of play. And there's also a change in gestures. And if you have to rush that, you don't get that natural feeling of okay, I'm discovering things here and I'm seeing new things. And yeah, it was very interesting.
Yeah, I don't know why I was like cracking up at the end when you were like just posing.
Oh, I was cracking up myself too.
It was very cool. It was like
I don't know if that was intended, but I couldn't hold it in. I was like, oh my gosh, this is gold.
It was like you put on another mask underneath the mask in that moment, because like the whole time you're being very like straightforward and like you're just like trying to figure this shit out, and then like somehow you're like, oh, now I'm like in character, and this like other being came. It was very cool because like it was just in the eyes at that point, and I guess the body too, but it was a cool way to end that piece.
Yeah, there's a lot of things. Also with the rolling of the clay in the beginning, everything is very very paced and very fast, and you just okay, gotta try to cover it up. And when I start working on the mouth, just start turning the clay, and then it stops. It goes slower, and there's like a okay, I'm measuring this out. I'm feeling this, and then adding it. Even when I put the bottom of the mouth, it's the adjustment of no, it needs to be here, exactly here, and then roll some more and put it there, and then the birth of the new character, and I guess I felt safe behind the mask. That's where the whole posture changed.
Cool.
Cool. And you, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting question of liveness and recordedness for mine, and the way it came together. Because, like, you know, I was doing free falling pretty regularly when we were doing it live, and this is my first digital attempt, and that's because, like, the sort of the process that I came up with for making free falling pieces, like, depends on a lot of, like, I'll just do it on the day kind of things. Like, I figure out, like, the bases that I'm gonna hit and the gestures that are gonna, like, support the, like, piece, because a lot of the stuff that I do is just, like, poetry and movement. And so the very idea of, like, editing, like, I edit self tapes, and, like, I've edited a film before, but, like, it was like a little film that I made for a theater piece. So, like, yeah, and also with the timing of everything, it was like we got the song done with a shout out to Jesse Manu from Other Families, who did the song, the actual music. Like, I wrote the sort of, it's actually 2 covers. Yeah, check us out, otherfamilies.com. We do music. We do all kinds of crazy things, video games and shit. But not video games like you think. Anyways. So, what was I saying? Right, yeah. So Jesse, so I, like, kind of came up with these 2 covers. Those are cover songs, and Jesse brought them to life with his amazing musical talent. And so by the time that was done, I had some of the choreography, but I basically, you know, I had to find a lot of it on its feet still, and that's part of my process. So I was really, really, really grateful when I was filming that I got a take that I was like, I could just use this take.
Right.
And so that's cool for me too, because this is, like, my first time really making a digital piece, and, like, I'm a theater artist. Like, the reason I haven't been doing it is because I'm just like, like, I want to just do plays. Like, I don't care about these movies. So yeah, I liked kind of with the camera was interesting. It's like there was times when it would, like, get out of focus, and you could tell I was lip syncing and all that shit. But I kind of liked that it was just like this one moment of me moving through what I understood about that story at that time. And yeah, and, like, I don't know, I guess, so could I do it live? Absolutely, because it would be a full wasted performance. It wouldn't just be a waste. You would see my lower half, which would be great. But I like that you couldn't. Like, it was a cool experiment. And there's one other thing I wanted to say. Oh, just the idea. It was a good chance for me working with the camera, because I remember seeing this dance piece that probably Anton, you would have seen, like, Dark Side of the Moon, Dance Side of the Moon.
Yeah,
It was like a big piece for Fringe that year for Montreal Theatre. You know, Helen Simard, Maxine Segalowitz. Shout out to those 2. And I just remember there's, like, this moment where, like, Maxine, like, it's like this really beautiful dance, like, it's a true dance, and she's dancing to Pink Floyd, and I just remember she just made this face. I can't even remember what the face was. I just remember her being like, all of a sudden, the whole dance expression was just in her face, and I was like, oh, you can fucking do that. Like, you can move. Like, if you're doing a dance piece, you can just act for a bit, and it still counts. And if you're doing a piece that's mostly acting, you just do a bit of a dance, right? And so it was cool, like, for the first half having a tighter frame, because then I could really. I didn't have the choreography, so I was just like, I'll just live in the moment. I'll just, like, be like, what is this moment as an actor? And so it was kind of nice to flirt between, like, film acting, I guess, and like, dance stuff. Yeah, it was fun to do the piece. I'm glad I finally made something for the internet.
I like that. And also, like, yeah, like, a lot of people don't realize, because, you know, even though all of these different art forms are, like, separated by genre, like, most dancers take acting classes to help with their performance, you know, and actors take movement classes to help them get in their bodies. Everything is kind of linked in. There's an open question. Do you feel like you're making a short film or a film theater piece or a performance short or what? Can you even categorize these things? Who wants to dive in to that one?
Yeah.
You know?
Well,
I mean,
I don't like categories.
Okay.
It's whatever you want. It's
Exactly.
art. It's
Mhm.
it's expression.
Mm.
I don't see that it adds anything to put a category in it. Just do what you feel like you need to bring out, and believe in it, and do it, and just push it, and go with it, and just go crazy, go nuts, and don't let yourself be constrained about by categories or how things need to be or what the conventions are. I just love kicking conventions. I just
respect that.
I just do what I believe is right, and people can have their opinions about it, and if they don't like it, that's their opinion. If I think it's right and I want to do it, just do it.
I think there was a line in Anton's piece about fucking bitches or something. You said something.
Yeah. Yeah. I said, I don't know what I said.
It was something about your crown and how they weren't bowing down, and you just like tilted them or something.
Royalty, but they won't bow down, bitches. Yeah.
I was like, oh, when that line, that was sick.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of hard. This question is a tricky one because depending on how you want to approach your piece, it can be all of the above, right? And also depending on the type of artist you are. Some people are like really well-rounded artists, so for them it's whatever. Some people are like getting into new things. So I guess for me, I wanted to try something a bit more experimental in terms of like the visual instead of being an actor in front of a camera presenting a poem or a monologue. I wanted to try something a little different. So I guess for me, it felt more like of a performance short, using the vernacular or the vocabulary that is in the question. That's how it felt to me. But yeah, only because of the constraints of the Freefalling digital editions and how we have to present it. That's how it felt to me. But like again, like Yurun said, like it's whatever. Like it's just art that I just wanted to put together. And I just didn't want it to just be my voice. I wanted you to have something to look at as well. So I guess it could be considered as like a performance or something.
Well, you do yourself short if you're just calling it a short film.
Yeah.
You made an original Anton piece.
Yeah. And now it's forever online.
I could see Monica's on YouTube though. Like I see that populating. I mean, all of us technically go on YouTube, but like I see maybe yours as like it's got a bit of a meme vibe to it.
Cool. If only. I'm always hoping for that. Yeah, thank you. I mean, yeah, I am specifically like thinking in terms of like a video medium or as opposed to like a theater piece, but that's just because that's what I gravitate to more. Yeah. Like for the most part. I mean, I've been a theater actor and a film actor and stuff with varying degrees of success, but yeah, no, I probably think more than the others of you that it's like mine is more of like a piece, right? Like a recorded piece.
Right.
Yeah. I guess for me, like because I actually did think this question to myself when I finished. I was like, what is this? What did I make exactly? There are certainly parts of the movement and the performance that I was doing that I envisioned being seen more. Like I finished the take and I was like, okay, you can't see my hands at the end or whatever, right? And then but it kind of worked. I of course found some logic and I was like, oh, that works. Even though it wasn't what I originally intended. So I did kind of think like, is this like archival footage of a performance for another time when I want to do it? And I don't like, yes, it is, but that, you could say that about anything. Like, I guess you wouldn't say that about a film because you'd be like, this is my done film. It's not archival. It's just like my done thing. Like, I would say like Red Moon, my piece, is like, I guess ultimately made for the stage, and I put it through a certain lens so I could perform. So I don't know what I would call it. I mean, I could make it for. I could probably, work with what I have and make it more of a full thing. That's like a filmed dance, but even that is kind of, I don't know. Like I've seen people make these film dance things, and they're cool, but it feels like they are being like, this is what the dance would have looked like.
Oh,
you know what I mean? I mean, that's not what they're saying. Like they're trying to,
of course, but yeah.
And you do get it. So I don't know. I don't know what to call it. I'm more of the camp of just like whatever. Nothing has a name. Everything has a name.
Right.
It's all just names. Like I certainly did work with the camera angle. So I feel like some of the stuff I did, I couldn't have done that way if it wasn't for the camera. So it's like a digital piece of theater, which doesn't make sense. Because when I think digital piece of theater, I think like you're in a theater and there's like digital stuff around you.
Did it make you make different choices?
Yeah, I was making choices for the camera, and I had to, and yeah, so I don't know, but it's certainly like one part of something that could be a more full thing in as a piece of theater, because I don't know how to think about it like a film.
Yeah.
I just don't. I just don't have the capacity.
There was another ish. There we go. They reading my mind. So I guess I have to read it out. People are creating.
I could read it, or someone else can.
I'm like.
People are creating in small spaces these days, kitchenettes, living rooms, and bedrooms. Do you feel these special constrictions challenging and frustrating, or more like welcome boundaries for creation?
I'll start if you want me to, if it's okay.
Go.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that like I'm not necessarily looking on the positive and being like, oh, I was just, thank goodness we have this, I'm so happy to be bound to like my apartment 24/7. But within that, it's for me, it is nice to try to get out of my space being the set. So for me, it's like, okay, if I create like an animation or something else that's visual that I can attach my voice to or whatever, then that to me feels like, okay, you don't have to stare at my sparsely furnished apartment and pretend that it's a castle or whatever it is, and then it maybe doesn't look so pandemic-y, like I would hate to look back on my pieces and be like, well, that's for sure something filmed when you were stuck at home, so that's what I'm really trying to get out of, is like have like scenarios or things that look like other things other than my room.
Cool. Mine was kind of based on like, I mean, like I put in for self-tapes all the time, right? So I'm just like, I'm set up for that. And I also happen to have some stage lights, so I don't know. It's just like I am thinking of it like another word I could have used to describe it was like it's like a self-tape for my piece of theater. It's like if I was sending it into like the Tarragon or like whatever, some company being like, hey, like, do you want to put this on? So I am kind of set up for that, and I don't know. I'm fine with it. Like, yeah, I mean, I just can't even imagine us getting together right now. So it's just like I have an idea and I need to express it, and so it goes through this container. And that's always how I've worked. I'm usually like pretty like, what do I have available for me, as opposed to like seeing what I need to get. I'm like, how do I express this thing through what I have? But if I can't do a play on a stage soon, I'm gonna go fucking crazy. Can we get that vaccine? Shout out to the vaccine and whatever order is coming our way or not coming our way.
Shout out.
We'd love to do a play soon. I'm not out there.
We're into the universe. Put it in. I hate these constrictions. I hate them all. They're super challenging. I hate it. But you like sometimes you just have to get creative and make it work, which is what I had to do. I have lots of roommates and they are extremely loud. So even just doing a simple self-tape can take hours because there's always noise. And my room is big, but then I have to move things around so I can get the takes. It's been very, very challenging to create in my house, and especially with the weather not being the best. Now it's getting better, so I wish I had filmed my stuff last week. I could have taken advantage of outdoors in the sun and filmed some things outside, but no, it was not the case because the deadline. But yeah, it's hard, but I also enjoy the challenge because again, it's working that creative thing inside of me to just find ways to make the space come alive or to bring something just to like you said, Monica, like instead of people like pretending like this is a castle or whatever in my room, like it's like just finding ways of how I can like make the limited space that I have into something that works for the piece itself. But yeah, I hate it. I need studio space. I need proper lights. My shitty ring light barely lighting me right now. I need better lights, bigger space. I need natural light because I'm in the basement. But yeah, that will come. I'm patient. Vaccine, let's go.
Jeroen, do you feel any way about the constrictions?
Just gotta work with it. Makes you more creative.
Right.
There it is.
Don't try to do things that don't fit within the concept or don't fit within the constrictions. Just find ways around it. I have this and that. These are my tools. And what can I do with it?
Exactly.
And how can I make it interesting?
Yeah, and I think in a way, like, Freefalling does that already, right? It's like I wouldn't necessarily make a piece of like digital theater art because I can't work on a stage right now. If Freefalling wasn't available, and I was like, okay, I mean, for me, like I was thinking like, I should like, because you feel like these days you could. There's almost like no excuse if you're a writer or a creator to not be doing something, because you could have a TikTok and you could have a fucking whatever, like if you can make it work for yourself. So I've been like, how do I express myself online? And it's taking me this, like I was supposed to be doing it all winter, and it took me this long till March to be like, okay, fuck, I just have to sign up for Freefalling and make myself make something, because otherwise all these like half ideas are never going to come through. So yeah, I mean, I guess it's always the case that like the space or the constraints call you to make something, and it's shaped by that. So yeah, and I mean, I'm really glad that I did it. I'm glad I have something as opposed to nothing. And I
guess the tricky part with this digital platform is that as a performer, you don't have live feedback from your audience.
Right.
And personally, I always in my performances, in my acting, I always get feedback from the audience, and I respond to it. So it becomes a conversation between the stage and the hall. And now by missing it, you have to kind of find a different way of reaching your audience, because the same thing is for them too, that if they're reacting to what they're seeing and they see that on stage people are reacting to what they're doing, they also feel connected. So now you have to find a whole different way of connecting yourself within the audience. How are you going to draw them in? How are you going to let them know that, yes, you are there. I see you. I'm doing this for you, and I want you to be engaged.
Yeah.
I think there's another question, unless you wanted to say something, Josh.
I was going to say, just look right down the pipe, which just means like look in the camera and be like, hello, I'm acting for you.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, there was another question. I think it was about pandemic art.
Yes. Thank you, whoever's doing that.
Yeah.
We love you. We appreciate you.
Little spirit in the Digiverse.
Yes. Do you feel like you're making pandemic art, or would you be making this kind of stuff anyway?
Well, I'll go. I think no matter what, you respond to your environment. Like we're all like vibrating people on this planet that's connected through gravity and all that shit, right? So like we all feel this. So no matter what, you like yes, because it's like literally I'm a pandemic artist. We're all pandemic artists because we're artists living in this pandemic. But I would definitely like this piece. The content of this piece is not the first time I've explored this kind of content, and I would have made it the way I made it without the camera if it wasn't for the pandemic.
Right.
So like, who knows if I would have come back to this subject matter in this way at this time, because I've already kind of touched on it with other work, and maybe the reason I did come back to it is something with the pandemic, but otherwise, yes, I would just be doing this regardless of the situation. It would just be in front of people, which would be awesome.
More spacious. I've seen your previous works, and you fill the room. The stage can be empty, just Josh in there, and he's flying around and twirling and singing and
flying around,
chanting and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Empty stage, just Josh. Go. That's the whole joke, the whole thing. So thank you for saying that. I appreciate
You'll fill it up.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be doing this stuff because I feel like it wouldn't be as staged per se, because most of my pieces are poems anyway, so I would be performing them at open mics, but I wouldn't be performing it on a scale of what I'm presenting here. I don't want to call it pandemic art because triggered. It's art. Because after pandemic, it's still going to be art. It was just done during the pandemic because, like you said, Josh, we're all in the pandemic. But I personally do not think that I would be doing this kind of stuff if it wasn't a pandemic, at least to this scale or degree. Because I mean, I'm sure I would be doing art, maybe writing short plays and putting them on, but I wouldn't be doing this kind of art. I'm just grateful that for the Freefalling, so that I have a medium to kind of present these poems that I've been sitting on for years, that are just sitting in my notes on my phone, like a way to just get them out there, seeming as there's no open mics and there's nowhere I can present it other than here for now. But that being said, I might be doing this kind of stuff after the pandemic, because now I'm like, hey, I can do it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, I can't really call this pandemic art. The pandemic has given us a challenge to explore these elements and these facets, but I can't say that I'm personally making this for the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
I got very into performing live for a while, because I was doing stand-up, and so that became like, with something like that, it's almost like an obsession, because to get better at it, you have to be so obsessive and constantly do it. So I kind of neglected sometimes. I did a few things that were other forms, but I don't think I was as focused on other forms that weren't like live comedy. So the fact that we're, in the situation we're in has made me find another outlet. So that's been really interesting and exciting for me to be able to be like, okay, how do I make comedy, and in a way that isn't, necessarily just the Zoom shows or I am doing my own show, but like, what else, right? How else do I do it that's creative and, yeah. So
I think the pandemic, especially for like theater artists or live performers, it did open up some interesting questions, because people who want to make stuff, and then it's like, do we call it theater? And I guess that's why they're asking us these questions. It's like, because it makes you focus on like, what is theater, what is live, you know, all that stuff. Like for stand-up comic, it's like, how can you do stand-up comedy without the laughs? Like it doesn't make sense. Like,
and we're doing it right because there's lots of like online shows and stuff, and it's and it's been lovely in a lot of ways, but it also is like totally different. You know, it is totally different. The energy is different. Everything about it is like, it's not the same medium, you know, like at all. And so, yeah, so I don't feel as motivated to create online stand-up, you know, like that seems like if I was to like do a recorded set, like I think we would all want to blow our brains out, you know? So like, that's like definitely not a thing I'm aiming for. So then, yeah, the alternate is like, well, how do I, within these constraints, make something that's like, that I feel, you know, good about, and that excites me. In terms of expressing myself as an artist. So,
Right.
Very important.
Yeah, that's true.
Very important to do that.
That's a I thought it was a sweet spot to kind of like round up this round table discussion. Unless anybody has any last words.
Any final words?
Any words before we wrap this
We're all
up?
gonna get killed after this? Is that what happened?
I don't know. I don't know.
No.
Oh, we love you.
Getting up early in the morning, doing some more work in Space B freestanding room.
Amazing.
Opening up April 1st. Members are welcome.
First opening. That's very exciting.
It is exciting. It'll be really fun.
Well, I just want to say it was so great to do this again. Loved all your work. Love Free Falling. Always a privilege to be a part of this crew. So can't wait for the next one.
Same. Thank you for having me, and yeah.
Thank y'all for sharing.
See you on the next one.
Yeah.
Until next time. Thank you to the viewers who stuck around. I don't know if there's anybody, but thank you if you did. All the works, I'm not sure, but all the pieces will be available if you want to rewatch it and take notes and dive in, dissect. They will be available on the YouTube page, the Freefalling YouTube page. So yeah, if you want to check in, and also the roundtable discussion, I believe will also be available if people want to look back and if you couldn't stick around, you're probably not here right now, but hey, it's going to be available. So yeah,
yeah,
thank you, artists. Thank you, Free Falling. We'll be back next month, the last Friday. Please sign up. Looking forward to your work. Good night, y'all.
Good night. Thank you. Thank you, Anton. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.